Hello, hello. Okay, so it's the weekend and all. It's supposed to be relaxing, but no! The grind calls. So we need to kind of get just like tiny bit of work in. At the very least, I want to get this dispatch working. And we did say yesterday, verify clear needs to wipe the entire registration key. So I think what we're gonna do, we're gonna have verify user email, verify user name. So both of those will clear, but then we also need a verify. Should we rename it to verify registration clear? I think that's the best option. Verify registration clear. There we go. And then we're gonna have a new let's just stick it over here. Verify registration clear. That's just going to clear everything. And then in the action, clear will be type user action constant dot verify registration clear. And then we can just dispatch clear. Clear! That should be in theory all we need. Yeah. Okay, so after that we need to go to every place since layout to change it to verify registration clear, because obviously we changed that. We could just leave it as verify clear and just have user actions.verify registration clear, because then it stays verify clear. Yeah. So let's check our state. Username is available true, so it's valid. Then if I was to close this, user verify, oh, okay, didn't clear it because we're not actually checking for that in the reducer. Username clear, email clear. And then where's the one where we actually have the other clear? Isn't there one? No, we have to create it, which is user action constant dot registration. So something like user action constant dot verify registration clear. If that is the case, then if state dot registration delete state dot registration. That's essentially it, but it's going to complain, isn't it? So let's just do this, because this seemed to work last time. Then we could just do delete key dot registration. There. What are you complaining about? Oh, and then we need to return state. There. Alright, so registration exists now with username being available. If we close this, registration still exists. It's kind of a problem. It should be here. If state.registration key equal to state delete key.registration. It should be deleting key.registration. I mean, at least it's wiping it, but yeah, still. Wait. Now registration is gone? Was it always working? I just didn't pay attention. There's registration. Oh, it does remove it. And why was it not working nano? Huh. Weird. Cool. So that should user verify registration clear. And then if you enter something here, and you make it valid, yeah. Also, the other thing is, if this if this changes, we should technically verify username clear. Or maybe that is happening. No, it's just request success. So if there's an error, it clears it. And we don't care about that because it changes the validity. Okay, but so long as there's an error, it's going to keep trying to clear the state, which we don't need to. So let's actually look at the logic behind that. Which I think is here in username. Actually, not in this one, in validate input. If new state.error username, and it's valid, I guess. Well, let's do the first check. If new state.valid username. So if there's valid username and there's an error on the username, then we can clear the username validity. Okay, so we can wipe that, because that should be fine. Okay, and who calls validate input? I think this was here. So you call validate username, values, set values, validate input. So it isn't validate username, so can't we have that all in one? Instead of the callback. Because it calls the callback, and then it sets state. What if we just integrate validate input? We would literally just need to give it verify username clear. And verify username. Yeah. So we just need to give it verify username and verify username clear. And then we can have this all in the one function. Then we don't have to mess around with multiple functions. So instead of if callback callback, we can just do it here. And then afterwards update state. So if new state.valid username and new state.error username, verify username clear. If not new state.error username and new state.username, so there is something in the username field, then we verify that username. And then afterwards we can update state. So we need verify username and verify username clear. So those are the two things that it's going to expect instead of callback. So verify username and verify username clear. There you go. And then we need to make sure that we give it those two things in the sign up call. Lynn, hey! How's your studying going? It's this one, validate username. Values, set values, and then we need to give it, was it validate username? And then validate username Wait, was not validate username clear? Oh, it's verify, right. Verify username and verify username. Oops, come back here. Verify username clear. Cool. So validate username, values, set values, verify username clear. That's all we need. And then all of this mess gets moved. And we just have a single use effect. Beautiful. And let's just check that it's still working like it should. It's supposed to only call username clear if there's an error state. So let's make it an error state now. I didn't call it. Hold on. Registration available true. That should have been false. Should have called the function, but it didn't. Verify username clear. So let us go into validate username. Verify username clear. If new state, it is still new state, right? Yeah. If new state dot valid username and new state dot error username. If there's a valid username, which there would be, and there's an error, well, isn't this supposed to be on the previous state? I wonder. Because before this, we used to just do if new state dot error username. Verify username clear. If not new state dot error username and new state. Oh, but I wouldn't be able to verify the username otherwise. That's so weird. Huh. Let's try it again. Oh yeah, by the way, Len, I managed to clear the entire registration process. You remember how I had a registration key in my Redux state? Well, now when you close this, it wipes it completely. Because remember before you could come back to it, and then you would have a previous validation state, just in case, you know. But the other issue now is that it should clear, but it's not clearing. It's not calling clear. It's still valid, but it's not clearing. Why you do this? It is requesting, but huh. Let's check if it's even getting there. Might just be something with the condition. Okay, make it invalid. So we're not getting in there. No. What did I have it on before? I had literally just this. If new state.error username. That's what it was before. Let's see if it works like it used to. Okay. Yes. Okay. So it does. So it's a condition then. Weird. Let me see if it wiped the Redux state. Yeah, it did. Huh. Okay, so it's a condition. This condition. If new state.valid username. Isn't that what's in our state? Let me close these. We don't need all of these. What is it? It is valid username. And that... maybe it's not getting set? Let's try. Go to the form. Sign up form. There we go. Let's check our state. So valid username is currently false. Okay, now it's true. Now it's invalid. Oh. So we must have set something to invalidate it. Because now it's not true anymore. That would make sense why. So maybe we need to base it on the old state. I don't know what kind of side effect that would cause though, so maybe not. Okay, so somewhere here we're changing valid username to false. I think it's here. Yeah, one of these two. That's what's setting it to false. So maybe before we... The main thing is, there wasn't an issue. It's just verify username clear will get called every time there's an error state. Even while you're typing. Oh, you know, wait, I could do it in the else if. It doesn't need to be in here. It doesn't need to be in here, I just realized. Because now that we've combined all the logic, I can directly put it in here. If the username length is invalid... wait. If the username is not null and the length is invalid, then essentially we can do this. Verify username clear. And then if the username is invalid because it doesn't match the regex, then verify username clear. I don't like the fact that we're duplicating it, but that avoids the other issue down there. And that should essentially be all we need. Then we don't need all that. There we go. Now it should wipe the store if it's invalid. Oh, we still run into the previous issue. I need one more if check. Can I still do it? It sets valid username to false. Actually, you know what? Let me try something. Let's compare the old state. So state.valid username should always be one behind. Maybe we should call state previous state. That's essentially what it is. Because new state is a copy of state, but it's what it's going to be. State is what it is at the time. So if state.valid username and new state.error username. So if there's going to be an error and it was previously valid, wipe the username status. That should be it. Let's try. Okay, so right now it's valid. And now if we make it invalid, okay, it wipes it. Username clear, great. But will it keep doing it? No, it won't. Sweet. And then if we make it valid again, it sends a request, cool. Username is now available, and if we invalidate it, we should see it eventually. It should become oh, I just realized something. We blocked it. While it's still busy validating, you can still go through. Okay, so maybe we need a failsafe to also check the state of the error. Because right now you can, because you want to send the request constantly, unless we can figure out a way to stop any previous requests, if you're fast enough, you can add something in. It's not going to obviously validate, but it will show it's valid, and the registration section will still appear as available, which is not a good thing. So what we need is to have a check that checks for any errors on our input field, because obviously this is in an error state right now, and then relay that so that it will update state, because this icon is dependent on state, whereas the form errors are dependent on local state. I did that specifically to avoid issues like this. So I guess something like if, yeah, it should in theory be, I think we can use one of the previous ones that we already have. Which is one of these use effects. This is for username. It's going to call validate username every time something changes. So I could technically have all the logic in there, to be honest, which maybe we will do. So maybe the first thing we do is if state, if state dot username error, let's try this. If state dot, I think it's username error. Let me just double check what we used. No, it was error username. So if state.error username, if username is in an error state, then you want to call verify username clear. Also, we want a condition on there to prevent it from, if it was previously valid. Wait, how's that any different to this one? Oh, because this one calls verify username afterwards. I wonder if literally just flipping these two if statements around will change this. Because this is what clears the username. This is what verifies. Before we change anything, let's just see if this makes a difference. Let's get to the max count again. We can still do it. Oh. So if not new state.error username and new state.username, maybe we should check all the states, new state and old state. If not state.error username and not new state.error username, because maybe the issue is that we're checking new state but the previous state had an error. Because then we avoid it from trying to verify the username because it's invalid. Don't know if that'll make a difference. Let's see. No, it still sends it through. Or what if we don't send a request to the function, because it's still going to get in, isn't it? Oh, and also this thing didn't work. This if. Let's go to the sign up form. Username. So instead of doing this, calling the function, let's also add if not values dot error username. Then we want to validate the username. So if there's no error with the username, then go ahead and validate username. Wait. Then it will never fix itself. Oh, that's dumb. Because now you can never recover from an error. Because that... Oh my god. Okay, never mind. That will not work. So it has to be in here. Okay, so the part that calls verify username is this right here. As long as the new state has no error in the username, and there is a username, we want to verify. See, if we had a global variable now, oh, we do, we have the redux verifying. We have verifying. We have it here for watch. We have it for username. Where is it? There it is. If username status. We would basically need status. I mean verifying. If not verifying, then you can do it. That is what will help. Why don't you just verify the username every time the value changes? Oh, I do. That's currently what's happening. The issue is that you can basically verify. It's basically gonna call it every single time, and even while it's busy verifying, you can send another request to send another verification. Technically, there should only be one verification happening at a time. And the issue that happens is here. When you get to the max, let's say one of the errors, here, right? I can literally type in faster than it sends a verification request, and now it will appear as valid, but it's actually an error because we went over the character limit. If that makes sense. Why do you have to validate? I took it out of the if statement now. Now it's just in use effect. Validate username will happen every time. That was the issue when I had it in the if statement, because then it won't run. It would solve one problem but not the other. So I need to figure out a way where if the form is in an error state. See, the thing is, it still needs to call validate username, because validate username is what clears the errors if you're busy doing anything. So it can't be an if statement in here, but inside the validate username function, I need to somehow not allow it to call verify username if it's in an error state. And I'll set this, but it didn't seem to change, because like I said, you can call it twice. The first call will succeed, the second call will fail, but it didn't notice that until afterwards, and obviously it couldn't update. If that makes any sense. Why can't it call validate username when there's an error state? Because then you run into this issue, where you have a valid username and state says that the username is available, but it's not, because doesn't pass the specific check. And if I do it slowly, one by one, waiting for the request to pass, you'll see registration username is available, right? And then if I send one request now and make it invalid, then it will clear it. But like I said, if you're fast enough, you can send 2 calls through simultaneously and you'll still have it as valid. I'm very thorough when I test things, so I always end up finding these little things that most people probably won't ever even trigger, but it's still a valid concern. So I gotta figure out how to work around that. And I could make it so if it's currently verifying, don't send another verification request. The only downside is you want the latest verification request. You know what I mean? So I could terminate the previous request early. Why not have a global valid variable? I do, it's in my state. So this right now, the variable for valid username is false. This is based off the server response because you don't want to ever trust the client. Because the client can literally just go and tamper with the client side and make it valid. So this, what you're seeing here, is server's response. It is valid. But we sent 2 requests and only the one went through, but then it didn't update because of valid username being in an error state. So this is client side, this is server side. Wow, there's spam on Twitch nowadays? That's crazy. So let's just do this quickly. Sorry about that. I'm gonna click it first. You want your crystal? Sorry, I took your crystal. Bucky! How are you? I haven't seen you in ages. I've never seen a spam message on Twitch before. Like that. It's crazy. How's it going? Yeah, it's going good. I think people are getting tired of me being on. I've created the world's greatest registration form. It's like a little running joke now because I've been customizing and tweaking this registration form for like, I don't know, 2 weeks now. I have literally nothing else. Well, I mean, I have a login form, which I was happy with. That was super simple. Just put a username and password in, and then you get authenticated by the server and all that. There's a whole lot of other things, but like the sign up form has all my love. We have like freaking spinners. We have like statuses. We have live verification. So like the server will respond and I'll come back to the form. I didn't realize it was from the server. Yeah, because you can never trust the client because the client can tamper with it. So that's purely there for like cosmetic purposes, like when we get an error state. Because look, I can literally go and change things. Let me show you. We go to my sign up form, go to my state, and then, oh, is your username not valid? Let me fix that for you. I'm just going to click this little button and, oh, wow, have you got an error in your username? Let me just remove that for you. Oh, wow, it's valid. Yay, let's go and sign up. See what I mean? So, yeah, don't trust the client, because the client will, well, can. You get some malicious people, you know. It's probably like the 1% or like the 0.1%. But my mind is always there. I'm always thinking in the worst case scenario. This will probably never happen, in all likelihood. Except for that one person who will just totally fuck with your system. So we gotta think about that. And yeah, like the email is foolproof. Okay, this is like my favorite thing that I've done. You basically enter your email address in here. Let me make sure I'm not logged into my email. Let me just log into my email. Then I can show you, because I've got a 30-second window to activate. No, I won't leave it at 30 seconds for people, a shame. That would be mean, but for testing purposes. Okay, so we click verify email. And now I've got 30 seconds. See, we got a cool little fancy little spinner. Now I've got 30 seconds to go and activate it. So I gotta, shit, will I make it in time? Click the link in the email. There we go, and it should, there you go, it's valid. And that is directly from the server waiting for a response. It basically polls the database for the token that was generated. So basically we generate a random string using crypto. I think it was 25 characters or something like that. So we create a random token and then we append that token to a URL. So the server has a /auth confirmation. No, it wasn't. I think we changed it from confirmation. We changed it to something else. It was, let me check. It was auth. Oh, it was verify. So verify email and then a token. So we basically have a get, and what that will do is await the response from verify token, and then verify token basically will try to find the token in the database and see if it's verified. And if it's not, it will just basically keep trying again. And that's based on this timer here, 30 seconds. I use set interval with a 2-second interval, so every 2 seconds we check in that database. And if it happens to find a verified token, then it'll be like, cool, sweet, 200, your email's been verified. And if it doesn't find the token because the username like tried to tamper or mess with it, or it just got deleted because, oh, the token automatically deletes after this time, then it sends a 404, token not found. Otherwise, if they didn't do it in the time necessary, because we check if running time is greater than max time, then we specify that the token was timed out and they didn't verify it in time. So yeah, that was like my proudest feature that I added to this. That is some complex code. I know, I was like trying to put like my skills to the test. I was really happy with the outcome. Is it really necessary to have live validation from the server though? I feel it's like a really good user experience, because while the user is typing, they'll know if what they're doing is right or wrong. Because imagine now I didn't have it and I'm just typing like Bocky Smoky Global, okay? And I enter my bocky@smoky.com email address and I put my password in here. And then I click on sign up. Then it comes back and it's like, whoa, Bocky, your username's invalid. Bocky, your password is invalid. And then they have to go and like fix it again. And then they have to go and do the sign up again. You know what I mean? And then the server comes back and it's like, no, but Bocky, you forgot about this. And they're just going to go back and forth the whole time. And I feel that's like a really bad practice. Whereas while you're typing, you'll know immediately this is what's happening. And then you could say, no, but that's why you have like client-side verification. And again, we come to the problem of the user can tamper with that. So you can't have client-side verification. It doesn't exist. I mean, you technically can, but you know, why would you rely on anything that's on the client side? So yes, in my case, it's important to have server-side verification because it means that we can give an immediate response to the user on if there is something wrong so that they can change it while they're busy with it. So it like updates in real time and you're good to go. So it may not be in everyone's requirements, but for me it is. I want to have the smoothest user experience possible. Okay, so let's try and figure out a solution for this now. So the issue we had was if you're fast enough, there will be 2 verification requests sent, but only one will go through, the other one will fail because it's in an error state, which is obviously the intended effect, but there is a side effect to this as well. So notice here, if I'm fast enough, I'll get a local failure, but a valid server response. Now that's not okay, reason being is server's response thinks that it's still valid. And obviously if you try to sign up, it wouldn't be valid, but the point is right now, at least, it's showing as valid, and we don't want that. Yeah, but no real user will tamper with the client-side validation, and if they do, they should expect it to not work. I mean, yeah, like I said, that is exactly what I said. You'll have like that 0.1% that will, but I guess it's just in me who wants to make sure that that never happens. And it's a good way to know how to prevent it, you know what I mean? And especially if it's just one line of code, why not, right? So what can we really do here? Let's see where the issue comes in. Okay, so let's see how many successes. Let's look at the time. The last one was at 0015 right here. So how many requests got sent through? Only one got sent through. One request went through, and it was the previous request before it went into an error state, which obviously was valid. Then we sent through another, but obviously that didn't go through in time, because it's not going to do the request if there's an error state. But the problem is we put ourselves in an error state. So essentially all we need to do is check if there is an error state. And if there is an error state, remove the... But we have that already, don't we? We could technically add it underneath this. Let's just try this as a test to see if it will work. If values.error username, so if there's ever an error, because this will constantly run, useEffect will run every time there's a change on username. So if values.error username, if there's an error, what do I want it to do? I want to... See, that's the thing, I don't really want to set it here, because then what was the point of extracting it to another file? But let's just, for argument's sake, just try it. And then all we want to do is set values to the previous values. Nope. And then we want to set valid username to false. So if there's an error in the username, whoa, hold on, one more, and the username is currently valid. Well, actually, let's stick that first. If values.valid username and values.error username, then set valid username to false. Okay, so let's see if that will work. Because it should send 2 requests through. My server only obviously gets 1 request, because the one was invalid. But in this case, it's local. So let's just get to the max. Where's the max? Somewhere here. Okay, so this. Okay, so if we do 2 really fast. Okay, no. Because the server is delayed, it comes back. That only happens afterwards. And obviously use effect will only run if there was a change. So obviously if I had to hit something now, there you go, it goes into an error state. Okay, I got another idea. State updates, state changes, right? State comes back and it's like, yes. Yes, yes, okay, okay, I got it. We have that in username. We're watching state here. If this is a use effect that's based on registration, so I could literally throw that if inside here, I guess. I can have it outside of registration. If values.valid username and values.error username, set values valid username to false. So this will happen when registration changes. Or I could have another use effect that's based on registration just for those. But anyway, let's see if this works. The problem with this approach is that it kind of depends on the user's internet connection. I've taken that into account. There's also a graceful timeout. And remember, the change is only going to take effect after the server responds. So in theory, if I did this correctly right now, it should only update afterwards. Hold on. So one more goes over. So if I do it twice, okay, so still not good enough. So the user responds with a success. Oh, because that's all still part of the same chain. Okay, so let's take this. Let's create a new use effect. Use effect. Gonna have that in there, and it's gonna be based off of registration. So if there's, oops, come there. No. In there. And you come out of there. There you go. So use effect if values.valid username and values.error username set values and valid username to false based on if registration changes. So it should detect the change. I just don't know if it's going to be delayed like it was before, and then we need to do it on the previous state. We're just going to have to play around with that and see. 35 characters, go. Okay, there. Wait, 1? Okay, cool. So 2 back. Okay, so it's still there. State did change. Registration was still valid. Now what is our check currently? If values.valid username, which is true, and values.error username. And we know for a fact that this is the previous state. So what we essentially need to do is okay, let's log these to see what the values are that it gets. Let's check valid username, values.valid username, and then we also want to see if there's an error username. And then we're going to send 2 requests like we normally do, and then I want to see if both of these trigger. That's the only way to know. Okay, so let's get it to the max characters again. Where's the max? That's the max. So we got 2 back. Okay, let's go. I'm gonna send 2. Boom, boom. Okay, so let's see what happened. We sent a username request. The username was valid, but there was an error. Okay. So the username was valid, but there was an error. Then the second request, valid username was false, error username was false. What? There's no error in the username? Let me check state. That would explain it, because we have that changed somewhere else. Error username? No, there is. See, this is a problem with state, because you can have previous state as well. And that's what's happening here. We're getting previous state. How crazy is that? Okay, so the first time, valid username, true. And error username, true. We set the values for valid username to false. We're the ones that changed valid username to false. And then because of the change, error username became false, but then it obviously rechecked the form, and then it became true again. And then because, yeah, wow, this chain is gonna drive me crazy. We need to think our approach. And you know why this is a problem? Because I block the ability to check usernames that are invalid. So the server can never actually respond and say it's not valid. Because I thought I was being smart by only submitting requests that are valid. But now the problem with this is, well, you can see what the problem is. If I just allowed every request to go through, the server will be able to respond to every request and be like valid, invalid, valid, invalid. And maybe that's what we need to do. I just didn't want the users to wait for the server to tell them that it was invalid, you know, because it's quicker for me to just have a local regex tell them it's invalid. So that's where we're running into this issue. Okay, but if we eliminate that ability, what do we have left? Send through the verify username request, which will then update everything. That would defeat the purpose of client-side validation though? Yeah, it would. And you wouldn't need to do client-side validation. Because anyway, all we care about is server-side validation. It was just quicker to do a client-side, you know what I mean? Because you don't have to keep sending requests, especially like you said on slower connections. Obviously we don't trust the client-side verification, it's just to have a quick response to the user. I'm really stumped by this one. And I think the issue with this is the asynchronous code again. So verify username sends a request to the server. We send an Axios post. We get a server response. Only if it's obviously valid. And then we update our Redux store with that response. And then the only place that watches for Redux store changes is this right here. Maybe there's something in here we need to look at. So that's based on registration. And what I would normally do is, if we're not verifying, and it's not available, we set error username to true. If it's verifying, we wipe the error state. If it's available, we set valid username to true. I wonder if it's this that's conflicting. Let me actually disable this and check. No, it's not that. Because only one request goes through, which is this one, if available. If available, set valid username to true. And this thing's delayed, because we get an error locally first, we sent a request at the exact same time, the request goes through, it comes back, it ignores the state. Wait, so what if we do if available and and not values.error username? What about that? I think I did do this before. And then there was some other issue I was trying to avoid. Let's see what happens. Oh, it gets stuck in that state, right. Now it doesn't know what to do. Oh, wait, let me see what the state is. The state is... available is still true, though. Wait, how did it manage that one? Oh, that was from the previous attempt, I think. Go back one. That's false. That's true. Okay, so we're definitely getting somewhere, because now it's just stuck in a spinning state. But username is still available, but I think that was from a previous request. It had to be. So now we're stuck in this state. Perpetual spinning state. So, okay, so we clearly affected this, because now it's not setting valid username to true. So if available and not values.error username, okay, so what's causing it to be stuck with the check? Because check username is what is doing the spinning. So it does if verifying. No, but it can't be because it got a response, didn't it? Here's success. There's success. There's request. Here's success again. Was it the error state of the form? Ah, why do I do this to myself? Oh, wait. Wait, yeah, we solved the one. We forgot this. We removed this one. This is supposed to be, if not verifying and not available, then we need to set the error state. Yeah, so that sets the error state there, but it's still stuck in a spinning cycle. And I don't want to add an else to this because it could be... I mean, we could. What other state would there be? I'll set values check username to false and valid username to false. Guess we could do that. Oops. Okay, so that solves that problem. And now we don't have user there. The only thing we have left is a state because we didn't call clear on it. So that solved at least the UI aspect of it. Yeah, I'm gonna have to scrap this. I don't like this approach. Things are way too messy as they are now. I feel this should purely be based on the server. We shouldn't be combining server and client side. Gotta go. Cheers, Lynn. Thanks for dropping by. I probably have to get going as well soon. It is the weekend. I was hoping to just... We solved some issues though. I can finally clear everything. That I'm happy with. If you go away from the form and you come back, the entire state gets wiped. So that's at least a good thing. But yeah, I'm gonna have to rethink this one really hard. One. Are you gonna watch the UFC event, the Ultimate Fight Club? Or is that another UFC? So, what do they have right now? Wait, not Ultimate Fight Club, I meant the Ultimate Fighting Championship. It's not Fight Club, we do not speak of Fight Club, I don't know what you're talking about. Oh, is that gonna be Khabib versus Dustin? Right, yeah. Yeah, that's on tonight. 8 o'clock my time, probably, yeah. I want to see the heavyweight, they're all lightweights. Yeah, probably. But I should also probably get going now as well. I need to figure this one out. I know I will. I might have to just rework everything. Because initially it's like, it started client side, but then I shifted to server side. And now it's like a mix of client and server, and this is why we're getting this issue. Because client side's in error, server side's not. Because server side didn't do the other request, being the incorrect request. I think the solution here, as much as I don't want to do it, is to allow all requests to go through. Unless I can find another solution. The easiest solution will be allow all requests to go through, because we're allowing valid requests. If I allow invalid requests as well, the server will just be like, nope, sorry, this is wrong. It will send it back immediately. And then we update it based on that. And that's purely just for the check mark. The local state will still be updated, you know, immediately. and that'll be in its spinning state. So yeah, I think we're gonna do that. In fact, let me do that now, and then we can call it a day. And Lynn, thank you. I appreciate that. You must have an awesome one doing whatever you're gonna do. Okay, so where do we check the validity? I think it was verify username. We had it here somewhere. Verify email, verify username. There we go. So we were calling check username. Let us. Which one was it though? Was it the controller? I think it was the controller. Check username. Oh, that was purely if a user was found or not. So we need to check if it's valid. So we shouldn't technically be doing find one or anything here. That should all be done in a service actually. But yeah, essentially what we would do is check against the regex of the username, and if it's not valid, reject. Let me add this as a to-do and then we'll come back to this, because I don't want to do a half-assed attempt at this. I want to actually do it properly. So to-do, move to service file and check username against reject. Reject if invalid. So that's what we're going to do when we come back. But other than that, I think I'm going to leave things off here for now. That should solve the final issue that we have on this, and then we can actually move away from the sign-up form. Because the email validation, which surprisingly was the most complicated, was also the easiest. So that's done. Password was simple, because that's all local. We don't have to, you know, get a server response. Because this tick is only to tell you, is this username available? It's not a validity check. It's just, do you want this username? Cool, you can have it. Because if I have to enter something like a previous username like this, it'll come back and be, you know, the username has already been taken, please try another. Actually, why did it do that? That was bad. It stayed valid for like a bit. Okay, never mind, maybe it was a one-time thing. But yeah, that's the point of that. Cool, so I'm gonna end things off here for now. I will see you guys on the next one. Bye for now.